Hey, what's up, everybody? It's PDF44 coming at you with yet another video. So, I want to give some credit to Paul George. I want to give some credit to Paul George because I see how well he's been playing to start this season. I very much was a critic of his coming into this season and even last season and previous seasons as well. As a Laker fan, it's very easy to hate the Clippers and all that good stuff. But I think the kudos comes in when you witness what the collapse was about in the bubble, right? You see him take responsibility for his poor play. You see him come into the very next season and just play up just outside of himself, just having a fantastic year, just like he did with OKC, just like he did several years with the Pacers. It's very easy to point out players' weaknesses. Some players' weaknesses kind of are glaring. Sometimes their deficiencies or shortcomings are glaring, and it doesn't allow for you to really look at them in a vacuum and say, yo, this player is not perfect, but they still have this, and this good about them. I think Paul George falls into that category with a lot of fans, a lot of media as well. It's just you don't give him the credit that he deserves because of his weaknesses, because of the collapses in the playoffs, because of the playoff P turning into pandemic P situation, and even to a certain extent the injury that he's had. But as somebody who's clowned Paul George a lot, who's got on here and talked crap about Paul George's tenure with the Clippers and how that whole thing was just, it made Laker fans feel away. You gotta also turn around and give him credit for how great he's been to start this season. And the thing about the Clippers, for myself, and I'm taking I'm taking time saying this because I want to think that part out. But I think the Clippers are slightly more dangerous this year than they were last year, and the reason being is because they're under the radar, and because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have a year together now. They've been through what they've been through, but they've also established some chemistry. One thing that I remember about last year's Clipper team is that they didn't spend a whole lot of time together. Guys were in and out of the lineup left and right. COVID hit, that derailed some things. When they got to the bubble, they had some other stuff go on with Lou Williams and then Trez's situation, losing his grandma. It was just a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff that kept the chemistry from being great, including the presence of the Lakers and all that came with the pressure of being there at the end to meet us, the fact that they were the other team in Los Angeles, the fact that Kawhi Leonard did choose the Clippers over LeBron and AD. It's just a lot of stuff that was easy to root against. It's a lot of stuff that doesn't lend itself to you paying attention to them just running around on the basketball floor. And then when they were running around the basketball floor, they played great against the Lakers, but then didn't show up against the Nuggets and ultimately got embarrassed in very serious fashion. So all of that just points to a team having to swallow a whole lot of crow. When you say they eat crow, the Clippers had to eat a lot of crow. The Clippers had to swallow a lot of pride. The Clippers had to endure a lot of laughter. And people just shoving them aside. And even though they've come into this season as a fantastic caliber team, it's very easy to look at teams like Utah, Phoenix, obviously the Lakers, and put them ahead of them just off of the collapse of last season. But the Clippers have done some good things for themselves with their roster. In losing Trez, they picked up Serge Ibaka, who had chemistry, obviously, with Kawhi Leonard previously with the Toronto Raptors. They won. Bringing him in was a big deal. I liked, even though I haven't seen a whole lot from Luke Kennard, I do understand that he has some game and he could play a little bit. He had a nice little breakout season with Detroit last year, low key. He hasn't had the minutes to show it with the Clippers, but he hasn't had any injuries either. So I just assume in the right situation, he could turn right back into that player with that type of upside. There's no reason for it not to be there. The Clippers just have to do a better job of utilizing him, and we'll see if they get a chance to. But just all in all, the Clippers have just done a great job of being under the radar after having that embarrassing season. And Paul George has been a great catalyst for their success. thus far. Kawhi Leonard is having a phenomenal year as well, and it wouldn't be surprising at all to see the Freeway Series this season. Because the pressure's not on the Clippers to play well. No one's expecting them to come out of the West. No one's expecting them to beat the Lakers. No one's even really talking about them beating the Jazz. And we know, basketball fans know that they have enough to compete with anyone, and I mean anybody. Especially since Lou Williams has found his game again. So I just want to get up here as somebody who will admit to you that I loathe the Clippers very deeply. I have a great deal of personal disdain for their franchise as a fan of the Lakers. But I can also look at a team just in a vacuum, as I've already said, and can say, yeah, this team is they're facing humility. They're facing being humbled, and they're handling it well. That's what I'll say. If there's something to be said about the 2020-2021 Clippers, is that they have they've responded extremely well to what I think a lot of teams would not respond well to. Many teams blow that up, and you give credit to their front office and their coaching staff, Ty Lue. Many teams would have blown everything up. They came back the next year pretty much with the same team and have come back stronger after that. So they're a sneaky opponent, man. No, I personally wouldn't mind seeing them as a Laker fan. I think we have enough to beat them this year. I don't think that they're better than us at this point, even though we have some things we need to work out in order to be healthy by the end of the season, and that's going to determine who we can beat and who we can't. But if we're 100% healthy, I don't think the Clippers are better than us. But that doesn't mean that we can come in sleeping against them in a 7-game series and think we don't walk out of there with a victory. If you don't play well against them, you could lose to them this year just like you were poised to lose against them last year. Luckily enough, we didn't have to run into them, so we never saw that play itself out. But this year, I think it's a good chance that we do. I personally, and I've gone on record saying some conflicting things about this just because I'm on the fence about the Jazz, really. On one hand, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it up. On the other hand, I look at what they're doing and say it's very difficult to keep up what they're doing. So at the end of the day, I have reasons to doubt the Jazz actually being legitimate contenders. I think they're a regular season team with the potential to show that they're for real. But I think if they run into the wrong team in the first round, we could see them fizzle out, and I won't be surprised to see that. So with that being said, like let's say they run into the Clippers, I actually think the Clippers are going to win that series. I do. I think the Clippers beat them in 6. So we could very well see the Clippers then, like I said, the Freeway Series is what I call it. We could very well see that. And if we do see that, boy, is it going to be fun to watch, because I do think the Clippers have a heck of a lot more to show than they've shown us or shown the league this season. I think they got levels that they could reach just based on the sheer greatness of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Lou Williams. Like those 3 players, all 3 of them can go for 40 plus. So, it's one of those things where it's like, don't sleep on that team. Give credit where credit is due. Paul George has played amazing this year. Deserved to be an all-star. He was there. Kawhi, same thing. And, as a foe, I can honestly say I tip my hat, because they've taken a beating. They've taken their suffering. They took it like men, and they came back strong, humble, not talking that same talk they was talking last year, not sticking their chests out, nor with their tail between their legs saying, damn, we suck, with bad body language and none of that. They just went back to the drawing board, and it shows the character of the team. It shows the character of the coaching staff. It shows the character of the foundation of the franchise. And I think with everything that I've ever said about them, with that being said, I think this is the first time when I can honestly extend some respect to their franchise, just simply how they handled it. And I don't know that they'll win a championship with this group, but I can tell you that what they're doing, how they've reacted to the adversity that they faced, gives you the notion that they can probably face more adversity and succeed. That's what I will say. I don't have them win the championship. I don't think they will play themselves to that level. I wouldn't expect that. I would be surprised if that happens. But there's just something in the air that I have to acknowledge about that team. And if they do go on to succeed, I will reference this video and say, yeah, I kind of sensed something there, because I do. I really do. I know that the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in the league right now, not named the Lakers. When we're healthy, I think we're better than everybody. I think Brooklyn is second. But ultimately, if the Clippers do overachieve this season, I can tell you that I sense it already. I sense that already. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.